Welcome to Quit to Win, of the show where we explore the moments people have to let go of limiting belief, a destructive pattern, an internal battle in order to rebuild their life with purpose and clarity. Today guest is Stan Lewis, leadership and communication experts, Amazon bestseller author, leadership trainer, mediator, and creator of Freedom From Mental Captivity framework. A former Alshad supervisory federal investigator who nearly settled 700 cases and turned $28 million to whistleblower. Sounds bring a rare combination of legal authority, informational leadership, and the personal endorsement of leadership icon, Dr. John C. Maxwell. But behind that framework, credentials, and the career is a deeply personal story. Someone spoke negativity into Stan's life, and instead of letting it become a ceiling, he made a decision rooted in faith that only he, by God's grace, had the power to determine his future. That decision became a mission. Today, we explore what it really costs to let others define you and what's become possible when you finally take the power back. Stan, it's a pleasure and honor to have you on the show.
Hey, it's a pleasure being on your show. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. I've been this over a number of years.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, it's a pleasure having you here. So Stan, now someone spoke negative into your life, and it became a turning point. Without letting them win by staying nameless. What was actually being said, and how long did you carry it before you decide you were done?
Well, I want to say something. I have a friend. His name is Jay Redmond, and he's a U.S. Navy SEAL. And he says you always have a moment, and moments occur multiple times in your life where you face challenges and you face self-doubts. Sometimes there are doubts that are voiced to you by other people. We face imposter syndrome and other negative self-talk. But I'll give you one incident in my younger days. I just want to let you know that there have been times throughout my life where I've had to challenge doubt because we all do. We're not perfect. And because we're not perfect, we make mistakes. And when things are new, and there's a new challenge that you got to try to overcome, sometimes fear and doubt will keep you in your comfort zone. And we could talk more about that later. But I just remember being a young sailor. This is in my new book that's coming out here in September, Evict the Doubts That Have Been Squatting Rent-Free in Your Mind. And there was a doubt trying to squat in my mind at the time by saying, hey, you can't be a naval officer. It's not for enlisted people like you. There's no need for you to even try. So, I had people telling me this, and it was already going to be a hard challenge because the broad opportunity for officer selective training at the time, it was hard to get into and even harder to pass what you got in. But I stayed with it. And I found people on the ship that supported me, my chief petty officer, the executive officer, and they helped me out. And I was able to put in my application, get in. Years later, I become a naval officer and live that dreams. We cannot allow the naysaying by others or our own doubts to hold us mentally captive.
Yeah, we can't allow what people say to hold us mentally captive. Yeah, amazing. So you spent 15 years at the intersections of law, leadership, and human behavior, investigating white whistleblower cases, mediating conflicts, returning millions to people who were silent. Was there a connection between the work, your own experience of having your voice threatened? What did you learn about power and silence from the people you fought?
Well, a lot of these whistleblowers, and even some of the companies, but I'll talk about the whistleblowers now, they had doubts. Would anybody hear them out? Would anybody listen to them? Would anybody pay any attention to what it was that they had to say? And as a investigator, OSHA whistleblower investigators are neutral fact finders, so we take in the facts and then we get down off of one side of the fence or the other, either on the side of the complainant or on the side of the company. So getting people to have the confidence that they can share their story with us and have us look into their issue. Now, on the other side, there were companies coming into mediation said there's no way nobody's going to hear us out. Nobody's going to take the time to listen to what we have to say, and I would let the company's attorneys know that, yes, we will listen to what you have to say. But what you have to say is important, and anytime that you're mediating between parties, the more that they can tell you about what's going on, the more that you can help them. And the one thing that the Maxwell program helped me out with is I became a certified coach, and I would actually use coaching techniques when I was working with both sides during the mediation.
Amazing, amazing. Thank you so much for sharing. Also, you said you knew by God's grace what only you had the power to determine your futures. What was the actual moment that conviction landed, and what changed in how you moved through the world after that?
Well, I haven't shared the story with a lot of people. I think it's probably first podcast interview I'm sharing this on, is that in 2018, I was diagnosed with prostate cancer. And thank goodness I have a very, very good wife who was persistent in making me go down there and get tested. And there were a lot of doubts because anytime you hear the word cancer, it stirs up a lot of doubts. It stirs up a lot of negativity, but having somebody that you can lean on, and in this instance, my wife, was very important to me. Also, even more important than that was my faith, uh, putting it in the hands of God because there was nothing I could do about it.
Yeah.
Okay. And so I put it into his capable hands and he took care of it. But what I learned from that is that, you know what? Took a step back and looked at my life and said, okay, you've accomplished some things, but there's more that you can accomplish.
Mm.
There's more that you can do. And I had gone to a John Maxwell International Conference in 2016, but didn't do anything with it. I went back in 2018, and ever since that time, I've done more with my certification as a speaker, trainer, and coach with the Maxwell Leadership Organization and gone out and helped people. Let me tell you, whether it was as a federal investigator or going over, working with a company, working with their people, it has all been so, so very worth it.
Amazing, amazing. Yeah, this is really lovely. So you went from federal investigator, MD to leadership strategy and author. That is not more like a small pivot. What did you have to quit believing about who you were allowed to become for that transition to happen? What was the first step you took that made a
Well,
new
going
direction, Fisher?
from because I was a supervisory federal investigator, going from that role to mediator was different. There were going to be different challenges and obstacles, but it was something I felt very confident in. And I did not want to be stuck in a comfort zone. See, young man, with the comfort zone that you hear people talk about, they ought to get rid of the word comfort because there's nothing comfortable about your comfort zone. Right? When you're in your comfort zone, at best, you're becoming stagnant and stale.
Yeah,
All right. And you're watching other people who are no more capable than you are, who are no smarter than you are, who don't have a better education than you do, go to be successful time and time again. And too often we're like that elephant that when it was young, it was tied to a stake by a rope or or a chain. It couldn't break it when it was a babe, but now that it's older, if it put a little effort into it, it would snap that chain easily. But it's mentally conditioned to believe that it can never break free. And our doubt, our negative self-talk, the negative talk that other people speak into our lives as to why we can't do what it is that we wish to do, as if they were living our life for us. Much like some of the men on the ship who were telling me, that's not for you. Well, who's that for them to decide? That's between me and my God if I'm able to do that or not. It's not up to them. I had to get past all of those things, and I went, got to training, and I had been brokering peace between company and complainant earlier in my career as a whistleblower investigator, and even helping to broker settlement agreements as a supervisory investigator. And it was something I felt very comfortable doing, being a peacekeeper. And I loved it, and I still love it as a private mediator.
yeah, amazing, amazing. Thank you for sharing. So Dr. John C. Maxwell personally endorse your work. What does that mean to someone who had a person speak only negative over their future? Like, what did you have to become literally internally before that kind of recognition could find you?
Let me tell you, my friend, sometimes it's good to lead people and when other people speak well of you to accept it. Having John Maxwell, having his video endorsement, man, it just means the world. We call him Papa John.
Yeah.
We look up to him, and I am committed, convicted to carry out his legacy as are many other Maxwell leadership people throughout the country and throughout the world. And, you know, sometimes, let me talk to you another aspect of doubt. Sometimes when people want to praise you, we kind of want to say, okay, we don't want to accept the praise.
Yeah.
Now, I know that's crazy, but some people are like that. I remember one time a friend of mine, it was at a camp out. I work in the Royal Ranger Ministry and also district staff. After mainly everybody's left, I'm down cleaning out the bathhouse and everything. And the older gentleman comes down. He says, thank you. And I start doing that thing like, well, hey, I'm just out
Yeah.
here. And he goes, Stan, be quiet. Listen, there are times when people do the right thing and you need to make sure that they hear it. I'm making sure that you hear this. And then he went on to tell me why he appreciated what I did and the time that I took to do it. And here's what I learned from that. Sometimes we don't allow other people to speak truth into us because up here, we're so captivated by all the doubts, the lies, the negative self-talk. But sometimes, you got to push that self-talk negative self-talk out of the way. And there are things that I could learn from his praise, not to be big-headed or to think that I'm all of that or anything. It's that what he was talking about and the way that he said I was accomplishing things made me want to do more of it, made me want to be more involved. And so getting out of my own way up here and say, well, I don't want to hear all the praise instead of taking what he said and say, okay, what can I learn from this? Okay, if I do more of this, I'm helping more people. I'm serving more people. I serve better when I do these things. Those were the lessons he was trying to impart to me. I just needed to be quiet long enough to hear him out.
Yeah. Amazing. Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing. So your mantra is break conditioning, unlock freedom, lead fully. Which of those three was the hardest for you personally? Which one do most leaders underestimate?
Well, first of all, breaking the conditioning, in order to do that, you have to do what I call a vantage point shift. We all have a vantage point of how we see things. From where you are, you're looking through your screen and you're seeing me here in one aspect, and I'm looking through the screen and I'm seeing you in a different aspect. You can think of it like a beach ball that's multicolored, and I got several people around and they're holding it with one hand. When it's up here at eye level, they can only see a couple of colors. Maybe it's red and green, maybe it's blue and red. But if I have them change their vantage point, drop the ball down a little bit where everybody can look down on it, now you see multiple colors. Okay. Your your vantage point is different. So in order to overcome uh, the captivity, the first thing you got to do is to acknowledge that there are doubts and limiting
Yeah.
beliefs that you have. And then you got to call them out for what they are. And I call this the recognition point, where you're intentionally calling these out for what they are. Once you do that, you can begin to take a new perspective of these self doubts and limiting beliefs and then put into place action steps to move away from being held mentally captive by those doubts and limiting beliefs. And those steps will take you towards your goal, leading to a totally different vantage point. So, in order to break mental conditioning, you have to shift your vantage point.
Yeah, you have to shift your advantage point. Yeah, thank you for sharing. So you said clearly it is your life, not theirs. How did you help someone who intellectually agree with that, but emotionally is still living as though it belonged to someone else?
I find a lot of people that way, particularly some of the whistleblower cases that I had, because people's self-worth a lot of times is attached to their job, or when they feel that they did the right thing, reported, maybe it's a safety incident, maybe it was a fraud and they worked for a company that was regulated by the Security and Exchange Commission. Maybe they were a railroad worker that pointed out a safety issue and they were terminated, they were suspended without pay, and they begin to doubt themselves. Should I have really done that? Is it worth it? And just to sit down and talk to them and to get them to remove that doubt out of their head and lay out for me what actually occurred so that I could do a proper investigation. But I don't want to speak just on the side of the employees. There were times when, with employers, where the employee had made the whole thing up. And I've had employers go, I was doing everything right. I was doing what I was supposed to. Why is this happening to me? Or a small business owner, why is this happening to my company? And again, getting them to move past that doubt, lay out to me what happened, allow us to look at it and see if there was any there. I remember this one time where the employee got together with somebody and they concocted to put together a story about this employer. When I talked to the witness and explained to him, well, I simply asked him, I said, do you have, well, I won't put it that way. I said, do you know what happens when you lie to a federal investigator? And he said, no. I said, well, you can go to jail. That's federal time right there. That it involves a hefty fine and up to 5 years in a federal pen. He goes, well, I'm not going to jail for nobody. This guy made the whole thing up. And so in that instance, I was able to help out the employer, particularly that manager, because there was obviously no there to that particular case. The thing that I enjoyed about what I did with OSHA is just sitting down, getting people to move past their doubts, particularly in the mediation. Because over 95% of the time, both sides come in and they say, there's absolutely no way we're going to work a deal. Absolutely no way. Few hours later, oh my goodness, we worked this thing out.
Yeah. Yeah.
They had to answer the whole time, brother. That's part of the coaching techniques that I use working with both sides. Is a good coach knows that the people they work with actually have the answer, and I had to just keep the parties around long enough until they figured out
Mm.
that they did in fact have the answer and they were able to resolve the issue, but I had to get them past their doubts.
Yeah, amazing. Good coach always know that. Yeah, they have the answers. So you just have to sit with them along. So nearly several hundred cases settled, 280 million returned to people who were silenced and overlooked. What did settling across from that much human suffering and resilience teach you about what people are actually capable of when someone finally believes in them?
When we get to the end and the parties are able to work things out, man, I didn't get any bonuses for people working things out. I didn't get a percentage of the monies or anything like that. What I got out of it is helping them find peace between each other. And at the worst, maybe they don't talk to each other again, but I've actually had after a mediation, I've had parties on the other side hug. I had parties get together, kind of talk things over and basically come to the thing where they down the road they can still talk to each other, look at each other without feeling angry or things of that nature. I've had people shake hands after mediations. It's just a very humbling thing to watch people reconcile with each other and they're able to settle their differences. And sometimes that's a monetary settlement. I've had these for no monies whatsoever. Person just wanted a neutral reference so that they could go get a job someplace else, and that's all they wanted. They didn't want any money. And there were times when I would go tell the company, they say, "Listen, person doesn't want any money. They just want a neutral reference so they can go get another job. Easy. Let's just get this thing done." And they're like, "Wow, I didn't expect that." Well, there we go. Let's work this thing out. And again, helping them overcome their doubts. The employee didn't think that they would accept that. Turns out they would accept it. They didn't think that the employee would put an offer like that out on the table. Well, they found out that they were wrong and we were able to get things done. It's just a great sense of accomplishment. And at the same time, it's very, very humbling and I would get thank you cards too. and I'd just be blown away. Say, wow, I was just trying to do my job. But it goes back to what that guy said, helping people resolve their issues. Man, I want to do more of that. I want to help more people. I want to help more people find peace and broker peace between parties.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you so much, and thank you for what you do. So your doubt detours our worksheet and the destiny acronyms are part to give people a starting point. For someone listening right now who has been carrying someone else's negative word for years, what is the very first courage step?
Well, the thing is when we tell people, hey, this is how to solve a problem, they listen to us and they may even take notes. They may even go back and listen to this interview again and take notes. But I find that it's helpful to have a process that people can go through, a
Yeah,
simple process. And that's why I created the Doubt Detox Worksheet. When you detox, a lot of times you have like a liver cleanse or a colon cleanse that you take to clear the impurities out of the body. What this Doubt Detox does is kind of help uh, remove some of the doubt and some of the misgivings you have about yourself out of your head so far as limiting beliefs. And what it tries to do is get people to recognize the scripts, the things that they've inherited from their upbringing, environment, or their past experience that cause them to doubt themselves, and to intentionally think into, okay, what doubts, what limiting beliefs are holding me back? And write those down. Was it something somebody said to you? Was it something you observed growing up? Something from your past experience? And then once you have that, there's a question that you got to ask yourself, is any of this really true? And most of the time, if not all the time, the doubts that you said, it's not true, or it doesn't have to be true because you can pivot, make a change where even if it is something that's truthful, hey, you don't have to stay there. Now that you know what it is, you can pivot from that and go and make a move into another area. And then once you've exposed this doubt, again, write it down and put into place action steps to move from where you are now with that being held mentally captive to where you want to be, where you've unlocked freedom, where you're living fully. Write down what that looks like for you, because what it looks like for you, brother, is going to be different than what it looks like
yeah,
for me. That's going to be different than it looks like for my wife or any of our friends, peers, or family. So you have to put down, what does that look like for you? And what are the steps I'm going to put in place to get you from point A to where you want to go? And if you don't think that, man, okay, I got these steps, but it's going to be hard for me to take those steps, find you an accountability partner, somebody that you can check in with every week and say, hey, here are 10 steps I need to take here over the next couple of months. And I just want to check in with you one time a week to hold me accountable to make sure that I'm doing the things that I need to move on. And let me tell you, when you have somebody holding you accountable and you know that, okay, hey, a couple of days, I'm going to have to get on the phone and I'm going to have to explain where I am,
yeah,
it kind of helps move you, spur you forward to do some of the things that you need to do. And let me tell you, every time you mark something off that list, you're going to feel better about yourself. You're going to see that you're actually accomplishing things as you move down the road. So this detox worksheet is there for you and your audience. And then if people need more help, say, hey, Stan, how do I talk to you about group coaching or coaching? I have a dynamic group coaching program where I use some of John Maxwell's videos where we go through. So not only are we coaching, we're trying to improve your leadership with the 15 laws of growth, or developing the leader within you 2.0, or how successful people lead. And so we have those coaching programs that I can place people into to help them with their growth, to help them move from their mental captivity, freedom, and lead fully like God has meant for them to do all their lives.
yeah. Thank you.
StanLewis.net/home, STANLEWIS/home.
Yeah, thank you so much, Stan. So lastly, Stan, for leaders who knows that they are operating below their potential, not because of the skills, but because of what people because of what they believe about themselves, what do you want them to know or to hear right now?
Well, you know, a lot of times what we say about ourselves becomes our reality, as John Gordon says. What do you want your reality to be? Speak it. Write it down and speak it. Get you good size sticky pad, write it on there, put it on your bathroom mirror. You get up, you get it ready for your day. Speak that truth into your life. You say, well, Stan, that sounds silly. Well, it's no sillier than the negative
Yeah.
self-talk that you're telling yourself every
Yeah.
day. Which would you rather be telling yourself? Continue telling yourself the negative self-talk? Or do you want to speak the truth as you wish it for it to be? And put that up there and say, okay, this is what I'm striving for. And alongside of it, this is the goal that I'm working on today. This is the action step that's taking me toward my goal. What do I need to do to get this action step done?
Yeah.
What would it be
Amazing.
like to go back and tell my accountability partner, I got this done early and I'm starting on the next goal. So hopefully by the time we come around for our talk, I not only got the first one done, but I got the second one. I'll have it on the way. We have to take control over our own minds. It's your mind. It's not that of your naysayer friends. It's yours.
Yeah. Amazing. Take control of your mind.
Take
So
control.
Stan, from all this, who would love to reach out and connect with you and also more like I'll take your coaching courses and that to get your book too. How could they reach out and where is the best platform?
Well, the best platform to get is Stan Lewis, StanLewis, all lowercase, .net /HOME. And if they do this detox worksheet, they're going to get the worksheet from me, and then there'll be a follow-up email where they could schedule a call with me, or they could go in. I have another free worksheet called Crafting Your Legacy. It's basically an ebook where people can kind of craft the legacy that they want to leave behind, whether it's for your family, for your children, and that too, they can fill out that and they will get an email from me and then they can schedule a 15-minute call where we can talk about trying to help them and see what I can do for them. And I want you to understand, I don't have a cookie cutter program for everybody. I try to tailor fit the experience to the person who's contacting me.
Yeah.
And if I can't help you, I will definitely try to point you to somebody who can help you. The main thing
Yeah.
is that I want to help you out, whether it's me or pointing you to somebody I know that can help you.
Yeah. Amazing. Thank you so much, Stan. Yeah. Thank you for the level of honesty and conviction that you bring to quit to me. Yeah. A reminder that no one else gets to determine our future, and that freedom begins the moment we believe it. Is one of the It's one every leaders and every persons need to hear. And if today's conversation move something in you, share this episode with someone who is living under someone else's word. Yeah, they need to hear this more than they know. Yeah, reminder: your future was never their own to write. It always has been yours. Yeah, once again, it's a pleasure and honor. How you on the show, Stan.
It's been a pleasure being on your podcast and listeners out there. This is a good show. Make sure that you're telling your friends and family about it.